Let's work. I get it, bags, get it, bags.
G'day and welcome to the Make It Withy Myles podcast, where we talk about all things related to building and construction, as well as that, the real estate industry through the lens of a building inspector. As well as that, we also dabble in a bit of personal development. So there's two segments to this podcast, which you'll see, which is the Shed, obviously building related things, and then the Journey. The Journey is more that personal development, which I dabble in every now and then, because I think getting better is going to be improving everyone's life. We all get better, shit gets better, and everyone can crack on, to be honest. So today we're going to have a special guest on board named Jerry Tyrrell, a man that has been involved in the building industry for many, many years as an architect, builder and building inspector. He's also the co-founder of Tyrrell's Property Inspections, which has a staff of over 20 building consultants, 3 quantity surveyors and 8 hard-working office crew. He is also the co-founder of Survival First Aid Kits, which I am very certain is in my work ute, and the founder of buildingtools.co, which is a new company helping to bring the national construction code into a more user-friendly visual environment for the construction industry. So welcome, Jerry. Thanks for coming in, mate. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Myles.
No worries, mate. Today we're going to be, there's some key themes I sort of want to talk about. The new building tools venture, obviously, the building industry itself, including the inspection world, and all about yourself. So let's get into it, young man.
I'm not great about talking about myself, but I'm very pleased to talk about the industry and how all of the 1.4 million of us can change it.
Fantastic. So give me your brief origin story. So keep it short and sweet. How did you end up where you are today?
Labourer, builder, architect, tradesman, building inspector, mediator, author, activist. I'm curious as I just like to make sure that Australian buildings are built well.
Fantastic. What motivated you to start building tools?
I was expecting somebody to do this for us because I was always seeing repetitive problems in our industry, a lot of pain, a lot of unnecessary shame, and I decided that after probably 4.5 decades that we needed to do something from within the industry.
I agree 100%. There's not a lot of people, like we spoke about before, that sort of want to get up and do these things and actually make those changes, and to see you doing what you're doing for me is very important. I think what you're doing is fantastic. So based on that, what is building tools? Give us a story of what it actually does and what challenges it's going to rectify.
Building tools is essentially it's $10 million worth of quality standards, NCC codes, best practice, anything possible to make the building job not perfect but trouble-free, defect-free. And it's a dual platform. It's in your phone, which is my dream is that we can access it 24/7 anywhere we want to. But as an architect, designer, certifier, engineer, I can access it on my laptop as well. So it's essentially a vehicle by which we can access all code compliance and quality standards immediately, instead of having to go through the 23,000 pages of what we're commonly not accessing because it's in words and hard to find.
That's understandable. This product itself, what's its intent? What is it going to do? It's going to obviously help the industry fix obviously all the poor building standards that we are currently dealing with, which is ridiculous, to be honest. How do you see that playing out with regards to what you're doing? Do you see that helping more so with the architects and designers getting the designs absolutely schmicko, or do you think it's going to be more impactful for the ones on site, on the tools, doing the task at hand?
I think it's teamwork. This weekend, it's an example of seeing the best teams in the nation go head-to-head on a football field down here at the MCG. And the same with building. It's everybody needs to play in the same team to deliver this defect-free building. We call it DFH, Defect-Free Handover. And if you don't think it's possible, don't listen to this podcast. But in my opinion, I've had a history of seeing very good craftsmen and teams build almost faultless buildings. It can be Mirvac, it can be Lend-Lease, it can be Malfa in Sydney. There are some really, really good examples of people who consistently build without the major defects. And that's what Tools is aimed to make sure that we have an industry-wide defect-free strategy.
What do you think then leads to these defects? In your opinion, why are there defects? Why are people...
Best question. I think it's ignorance. I think it's... people say that all the young tradesmen don't give a shit. I think they could and they should, and they just need to be educated better. They need to have access to mentors. They need to make sure that they are aware that they are part of the solution and part of the success of Australia improving its productivity and building defect-free.
I agree 100% with that too, because I see that personally within myself as well, and like going through my journey, and we go to trade school, we have a set task in front of us that we want to do, and there are some of us that are just there because they're there for a job. They work under a shitty builder. They don't really know or have a care or a love for what they actually do. But there are a lot of people too that, probably similar to me, that actually do give a shit and actually do want to provide a good quality project and want to learn as much as possible to deliver that. And I think with building tools, what you've done there is just going to help reinforce the assurance that the quality will be done right to the people that actually do give a shit. And I think pushing this through the schools at the start, like where the apprentices are, is going to be very impactful and help them very much so throughout the journey, because if they get put under a poor quality builder, they're going to deliver poor quality work, and that's where we obviously need to bring up the builders as well and make sure they are vetted as good mentors and good leaders to ensure that the industry goes in the right direction.
A lot of contractors are process workers. Tell me about your training. How many teachers inspired you at TAFE?
None.
The syllabus and the coursework and the notes, did you take any of it away in copies to be able to find and archive again?
No. For me, it was on site.
Imagine this. Imagine going to TAFE or Polytech down here and getting an inspired teacher who pulls up a tool on screen with learning outcomes and a TikTok approach to it and gamification and VR, so that you've got immersive experiences with little showcase vids of you using a hammer, and we still use hammers, and just the whole, and just exposing those uninspired students to the inspiration of what the industry still contains. And that's what I think we really want to achieve. I know that the educators want to do this because I know that they're constrained by age-old, boring syllabuses. And you said to the camera now, most of us are uninspired by the TAFE courses and university courses out there. I took nothing away. Now, what I want people to do is I want them to take away immediately a source of knowledge that they can use for life to build Australia better. And I think that's a no-brainer as long as we've got the right tools.
I think to add to that too, which I can see being a very potential, is more or less inspiring the people that aren't already in the industry to get into the industry as well. Those people that are crafty at home, the people that do like the little, they enjoy that DIY project. They might work in the city, be a city slicker and go to the office every day, but they really enjoy going back home and inspire them to be something a little bit different, that creative side that comes out. And if you have that opportunity or a platform or something that's built that can, help those people thrive to become the best that they can possibly be and go down that avenue that they want to go down, similar to my old man actually, it's going to get better people on board that actually give a shit. Wanting to do a good quality job and actually caring more, I think is going to deliver a better tradesman than somebody that is handy.
Finding quickly how to do it. But it's inspiring talking to you because so many people like making things. And at the end of the day, sometimes you come home from work and there's nothing to show. When you're making things and you're building, there's always something to show. What I want to do is make sure that every Australian, whether you're a tradesman, and I'd like to think that you're going to, a student, a tradesman should aim to be a craftsman. But if you're a DIYer, you can aim to be a tradesman, and you can build as well as any tradesman and craftsman as long as you know the information necessary, the how to build defect-free, and to make a selection without making the mistake that's ending up on the media.
And I've seen that in practice. As my brother is a Sparky, great Sparky. As us as family always had DIY projects. He's had many homes, he's renovated them all that sort of stuff, and he's used us to sort of help him through that process. I can tell you 100% now that bloke would make a absolute gun chippy. I have no issues at all with the skills that he's learnt by just doing the job, being taught the right way and executing.
And he's got you as a mentor. What I want to do is make sure the plumbers and chippies out there, who quite often they're fighting, and the Sparkies out there, they fight amongst each other rather than saying, well, he knows more than I do, I'll just lean on him and I'll get his knowledge. I just have to say, for instance, most of the Sparkies I know do not know all the cover rules. They do not know the spacing rules. They go to the wiring rules, and I think it's about a 400-page doco. There's load and there's other issues that they'll find there, but I just want to make sure that they put cables the correct depth, that they make sure that their aerial mains are not too close to a balcony, that they're not put over a roof. Now, this is stuff that I'm just commonly seeing in my world, that builders, the supervisors of Sparkies, the Sparkies themselves are getting it wrong and the builders don't know.
That's very, very common. And there's actually someone local here, Ken Sutton, who's a Sparky. and he's started his own platform for electrical trades called Electrical How-Tos. And that's what he's done. He's put it together as a whole course in regards to, it's more of like a membership platform where they learn absolutely every single detailed step-by-step how to do all the right things in electrical. And he has a ripper platform for it. You should really look into that because
I'll look at that.
What he's done is fantastic. He was somebody as well that it seems as though that he saw all the shit that was coming through. No one was doing anything about it. So now he's doing something about it. And now he mentors electricians and apprentices and everything like that through his community to help ensure that the quality that they deliver is absolutely spot on.
When I worked under an electrician, he would say the hammer rule. So when you were standing TPS on a joist, you were always making sure that your clips were at a hammer about 300 distance.
Yes.
With it.
Yep.
So you've got all these age-old rules that need to be captured. But sadly, I'm not sure whether the students are curious. But if they're not curious, they need to be told. If they're curious, they should be looking. But they should also be knowing that there are rules with everything that we do that we need to find as soon as possible.
What is it that you love about the building industry? This might be a long answer.
Look, I made a list of the great achievements of the industry last week. And in fact, I put the Opera House down. I put site safety. I put the accumulation of science. So some of the work with Hebel, which is AAC panel, and some of the technology, the improvements with insulation, the improvements with facades, the improvements of spans, post-tensioned. I think I'm really proud that that's part of our industry. So science and improvements. There's hardly anything else. So on the watch of all of the leaders supposedly out there, the bureaucrats and the politicians and the association leaders and the manufacturers, there ain't a lot of other stuff. There are slight improvements in design now, but really beauty is not worshipped the way it is in Europe and other countries. So I'd like to see really beauty acknowledged because it's such a joy when a building is both well built and beautiful. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see productivity improve significantly, which is embarrassing for us. I'd like to see the unions get bonuses because of productivity and not from ghosting and some of the illegal and from violence and the bad practices that they've got in place now. There are so many opportunities for the 1.4 million of us in trades and design to build beautiful buildings and make Australia really the world leader on the construction of beautiful buildings. And then the DIYs, of course, get a spin-off advantage because they've got so many mentors and so many allies that can help them with their projects.
That's spot on, mate. I like that. With regards to the building industry itself, and I think you've sort of elaborated on a little bit, what is it you're sick of? What's the gripe?
Oh, I'm just sick of the pain and the shame and the indignity of having our work criticised because the design was unbuildable. The selection of a product was just a bad choice, that we've been peddled something that had no warranty that sticks. Yep. I'm just disgusted by the unintentional mistakes. I don't like shortcuts, but quite often shortcuts are taken because nobody really realises that it was just a really bad decision. I'm embarrassed by the media reporting. I suppose I just like it to change from industry side up. From the base up, I want to change the industry because of skill and knowledge and access to solutions.
You will. I'm looking forward to seeing it too because it's going to happen because the things that you've put in place that I can see is very impactful, definitely necessary, and it's going to help just the novice tradesmen ensure that they actually deliver a quality job, which in turn, and even the designers as well, like ensuring that they can build a beautiful design. And as you probably understand from, especially in commercial, I learned, is that you can have an architect put together a beautiful design and then an engineer comes in and tries to make it not so beautiful because it's too hard. Where if we all collaborate together, we can all work with all the systems in place and make sure we tick all the boxes that we need to tick to make sure it's built correctly, but then also have that attitude of building something that's beautiful. Because then as you said before, as a tradesman in particular, as an architect and engineers, we're all a team. You get to walk away from that and say, yeah, we fucking built that. And every time you drive past with your kids, Dad built that, Mum designed that, whatever it might be.
It doesn't leak.
Yeah, it's just good fun. I
It
love
doesn't stain. All those basic skills
Yeah.
we should get right, and we shouldn't need to talk to anybody about it. We just backfall. It's just beautiful. The overflows are in.
Yeah.
All of those rules.
Fucking love it. Different type of question here. What advice would you give to a young couple looking to build their first home?
Enjoy it. Get a mentor as soon as possible. You do not need as much space as you think. So planning your space efficiently. The indoor-outdoor, I am trained as an architect, so the indoor-outdoor relationship is so very important. Please go for low-carbon, efficient, low-maintenance products. And if you're handy and you've got access to the right tools, there's nothing that you really can't do yourself, but you need a mentor, and it needs to be a person who cares about you and who essentially wants to get the building work done to a high standard.
Fantastic. So be careful of the builder you go with. Ensure that the quality is going to be right.
You get what you pay for. If I had a tenth of the cost of shortcut work in building in my pocket, I'd probably be a billionaire. It is that much of an F up. And so if everybody stopped and spent that extra dollar, and including making changes, so you've had the plans designed, and one of the things I have to say about consumers is that they don't read plans. Have the courage to change the sill.
Yeah.
You haven't allowed, the view's beautiful, drop the sill.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to put 2 doors there, just widen the opening there and pay the additional cost to the tradesman to get what you want that you didn't foresee in the drawings.
I think what's going to be very important moving forward is the new modelling of builds, making it more affordable and easier for designers to actually do, like the 3D walkthroughs. So using something like Unreal Engine, which is more of a gaming, it's for gaming.
It's immersive. It's immersive.
It's
design.
Unbelievable. What I've learnt in my journey so far is that there's people like you and I, we can look at a set of plans, we can build it in our head, and we can walk through it, and we can see all the things that could potentially be wrong and right and how it's going to work out. What I've learned thoroughly is that there's a lot of people that don't have that skill set, unfortunately. And some of these people get the plans and then they go to site when it's already framed up or they've sheeted the walls and it's got to a certain point, they're like, I don't like this. This doesn't feel good. And having that design element where you can actually have that you can walk through all those areas, especially with the VR system that's going to come into place.
VR is great, but have the courage to change things. And you'll be saying, oh, look, I don't want to upset the tradesman. You've got to live with something that you don't like, that you weren't able to foresee, even if you have walked through a 3D model.
100%, yeah. Speak up early too.
Speak up early, and it's worth the cost. Everything you do proactively, both in the design and beauty of what you build, is going to pay off. And everything you do to build it properly, take it from me, it's so much less cost, and a defect claim is an absolute disaster if it's managed badly. And then you've got the carbon of having to redo things and having to maintain some dodgy bit of jerry building, excuse the pun.
Going back on the building tools and what you've been doing to date and how you're building it all out, how difficult has it been to introduce technology to solve these problems for you?
Look, I think, to answer your question, I'm lucky. I've got great team players with me, and we've got a very good tech team, and we've got a very good tech leader, so it hasn't been that bad. But I think we're still so used to making mistakes as an industry, and we haven't learned to research and find and puzzle the way I was taught, and how so many people were curious. And I know with you, Myles, that you're a very curious person. So I'd say that it's been easy to develop the product, but what I'd like to do is, we've got about 1% of the industry using tools now. I would love it to be 90% plus.
Yep.
And I can tell you, we will move the needle about the industry's bottom line, and we will move the needle for the benefit of Australia's GDP. And it's a digital, accessible product,
Yes.
done by Australia, and it's unique.
Well, and that's what I really like about it, because it's the source. It has all the references associated with it. It's updated regularly. It's a no-brainer.
Designer uses it, a certifier uses it, a tradesman uses it, a labourer can look at it. You can share a micro-learning with the labourer about a substrate that you have to have clean for waterproofing. You can take photographs and you can send it round. it's a source of truth for everybody, and I think it's a no-brainer.
You've got Tyrrell's Property Inspections company, which you've been running for many years now. What, 30
I'm an
years?
ally now, so I'm not doing any property inspections now, and in fact, I'm no longer really a sort of shareholder there, but I'm a mentor for the industry.
Perfect. With regards to the building inspection industry, what trends are you seeing?
Oh, I think it's being run by insurance companies. I think they're terrible templates that they're using. They're not based on science and methodology and taxonomy. I find it incredibly frustrating. My aim is that with new work and renovation work, that inspectors should be going along and essentially ticking off and congratulating the craftsmanship and the skill of the work being done. That doesn't mean that they're cutting corners with their inspection process. It just means that they know exactly what's being done correctly and can tick that off. With pre-purchase work, I think pre-purchase inspections is arguably the most complex inspection job that you have to do, because you're looking at all sorts of ages and styles, and you've got to make a call and give your client really authoritative advice without scaring them off the purchase.
Yes, it is very difficult.
It's a very difficult job.
You need to be a good communicator, understand actually what you're doing, and provide value and recommendations that are legitimate and actually going to help them solve that problem and give them that confidence to purchase the property. It's something I've learned. But yeah.
Wisdom about the future too, because sometimes you're going to be saying to a customer, look, the rising dam's been there for 130 years. It hasn't damaged any timber, I have to tell you. Hasn't damaged the paintwork, I have to tell you.
Yep.
And where it's damaged the paintwork, you've got to put a damp course in.
That's exactly right. And having those specific inspectors with a good expertise of actually what's going on to help provide that value is very, very important as well, because I've come across too many times of some very poor quality reports from some very rushed inspectors, which is just a fucking waste of money, to be honest. But now, with that podcast itself, I've done a lot of like Becoming a Building Inspector podcast, and I've had a lot of interaction online with a lot of people that are builders wanting to become building inspectors and stuff like that. Okay, so you personally, what's your advice for someone looking to use their building expertise to enter the inspection industry?
Set aside any of your trade bias. That's really important. So you've got to be an open-minded commentator on all aspects of building. So please, from my background, I always thought that the carpenter builder with an open mind, with a science and technology antenna, was the best person to train to be a building consultant, building inspector. So that's number one. There's that obviously technical people are easy to train as well with an academic background, but they often don't like to crawl through the roofs and the subfloors the way I just say you must be willing to go to every possible area. These days I can't get up on roofs, but it's most of the time now I can use a drone on the more expensive properties, or I can have a colleague who can get up on the more inaccessible roofs.
So what you're saying there is it's people that are carpenters, builders, make better building inspectors, and ensuring that if you're an academic, which I must admit that I've come across some academic-related building inspectors that
as long as they've been on the tools. They need to have been on the tools.
That's exactly right. So from a code compliance point of view, they absolutely dominate. Like, they know every single in and out.
But they can be lazy. Can I just raise the wordiness issue? I read a lot of reports, and I deal with a lot of issues that go to court and defect claims and a whole raft of other things. Badly written, not issue-focused, clumsy, embarrassing. It's not what they would have done as craftsmen, tradesmen. There's a craft in writing. We need to be able to address the issues, talk about it succinctly. Don't feel you need to write. You need to be able to summarise, and you need to work at that the same way you've worked at your craft as a tradesman.
Now, I can see we're getting towards the back end here. So now I can see you've done a lot with your life. As we've spoken already, you sound like a very busy man. It's always ticking over, which I like about you. What are you most proud of?
Oh, look, personally, of course, having children. I think my values and principles are really important to me. I have to say I've done quite a lot of stuff, and it's not about me, but a lot of people think that I've basically fathered the inspection industry in Australia, and that's great. But I got rid of the use of untreated timbers, concealed frames, which I'm really pleased about. I got rid of the use of termiticides that used to be sprayed in subfloors nearly every year that poisoned our community without realising it. I've agitated for the free NCCs, which did happen. It's just a very clumsy and poorly indexed document. Tools. I've made a first aid kit that Choice was kind enough to say was the most usable kit in Australia, as a bit of a side hustle. Tools leaves everything in the dust. It's 100 times the benefit to me personally. I love the fact that all the people who've mentored me are now in a 24/7 accessible form for all of us. And so I just think that it's bigger than big to me. It's just a question of us being curious enough to find the knowledge we need to build Australia without defects in future.
Well, that just follows on to this last one, mate. But what drives you to continue to do what you do?
Joy of building. I just love it when I come to a site, when I'm on site, when I see interest in our kids. I'm dealing with TAFE at the moment. The thought of a really joyful experience is really, and translating tools into understandable, putting sequence into it so that people can see a step-by-step approach on how to build Australia properly and to become craftsmen faster. I judge myself. I'm not as good with hand tools. Somebody who's done it, hung 1,000 doors, but I know all the rules about arras, hinge placement, solid core, painting tops and bottoms, margins and equal margins. And if it's a fire door, I immediately know, basically because people have been patient telling me, and now it's all in tools.
That's fantastic, mate. So, to recap, mate, the Building Tools app that's on the platform now is fantastic. I'm very excited about it. As soon as I saw it, I wanted to make sure that everyone that in my small community that I've got can be aware of it, because I think it's going to be a big game changer and definitely necessary. It's very interesting to see all the interesting stories that you've got, the experience that you've got. You surprised me on a couple this morning when we were having a bit of a chinwag about you being the godfather of the actual standards for building inspections and other sort of specific areas like that, which I think is very impressive. That's fantastic what you've done with that. Now, where can people find you, mate? So, are you
it's
I know you're on LinkedIn.
buildingtools.co.
Yes.
You can log into the website, and there's a deal going for your people. Myles Clark 20 is the discount code.
Yes.
So when you go in there, and if you take into account the tax deduction, it's less than a cup of coffee, a cup of tea. Please go to Building Tools app, download it, subscribe as soon as possible, and become part of the cohort of what I call the 1.4 leaders that Australia needs to take over from the politicians and bureaucrats and association heads that aren't doing what they should be doing.
I can't agree more, mate. As well as that, I'm sure we can find you on LinkedIn. As I noticed, you've got a few things there you've been posting recently, which has been
I'm ragging
fun
the
for me to
industry.
read.
I'm ragging because nobody else is, but I'm just really, you know what? I'm looking forward to a point when we're just saying really positive messages and putting more skills up there. The micro-learning skills that we need. This is part of collaboration between us all when somebody sends in a really good tip about a box gutter.
Yeah, and I love that sort of stuff as well, because on the news, all we see are the builders going bust or someone getting shafted.
4,000 of them.
We just want to... I'd like to see some good positive things and people doing actually good quality work and providing good quality products to good quality people that are just trying to make an impact on that. Well, how many? Was it 400 billion, 200 billion worth of property?
200 billion plus of construction work a year.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some good stories.
And there is so much of it is being done well, and so much of it is being done badly because of ignorance that we can fix by using the right tools. And I think it's almost instantaneous as long as we flick the switch and be proactive about taking control and not waiting. I waited too long, peeps. I'm not waiting any longer.
Well, thank you for joining, mate. It was very much appreciated. First interview I've done on this podcast, which I think went very swell, and I'm very excited to get this published out there to help you guys build out as whatever you possibly can to improve your product and get it to the people, because it's very, very critical and very, very important. If you found any value in this in the podcast itself, please give it a like, subscribe, share. In the description below, I'll put all the links to any source of reference associated with Building Tools and Jerry. and we will see you on the next one. Hooroo.
Thank you, Myles.
Thanks, mate.
Let's work.